But no, we wanted to talk about the now late Dolly Parton, who passed away 2 days ago, I believe, at the age of 80. And she is so beloved for so many reasons, and she should be because she lived such an amazing life. She was politically fantastic, also quite the feminist icon, like for real, for real. And I know that before we wanted to get into it, did you want to play a clip, Zoe?
Yeah, I
Dolly
want
Parton?
to show this kind of clip mashup.
I'm sure of myself as a person. I'm sure of my talent. And to me, and I'm sure of my love and for life and that sort of thing, I'm very content. I like the kind of person that I am. If I fail, it's no big deal. If something don't work out, I'm not afraid of failure, because to me, I never feel like a loser. You know, even when I've lost, I still, feel like I'm winning, because I'm earning some sort of experience and something that I can use somewhere else. We were planning to see if we could do something like Mama, little children love shortening, Mama, little children love shortening bread. Mama, little children love shortening, Mama, little children love shortening bread. Wait, Daddy. I always felt like I have everything to gain and nothing to lose, and all I had was myself. I happen to believe that I had a God-given talent, and I felt like it was my responsibility to work that and do as much with that as I could. Don't judge a book by the cover, because I'm a real good book. Don't be fooled by thinking that the goods are not all there. Don't let these false eyelashes lead you to believe that I'm as phony as I look, because I run true and deep. I don't try to tell other people what to do. People are always saying, what kind of advice should you give? I say, I don't give people advice. I have information. If you want to know some facts, and if you want to know, sometimes how I dealt with something. But I do believe that everybody has a right to be themselves. There's a lot to be said about being comfortable with who you are, because I don't know how to be anybody else. I don't want to be anybody else. I'm not responsible for anybody else, but I'm responsible for me.
Those are, I mean, it's so Dolly Parton's so cool because like every sentence she says just sounds like so wise, because it is. But there is so much to the book of Dolly Parton. I mean, a little segment doesn't even do justice to everything she was about, but she has such an interesting life because she actually grew up, as she says, dirt poor in rural Tennessee. And I mean, so, so poor. Like her dad was illiterate. Her dad could not read. Which is what inspired her as an adult to create this imagination library that was literally inspired by her father's illiteracy. Robert Lee Parton Sr. was his name, and it was inspired by her upbringing of extreme poverty in rural Tennessee. And it was her proudest life achievement. This imagination library, it was this charity that gave an estimated 300 million books to children since its launch in the 1980s. So she was very big on that, very big on the idea of children being able to read and being able to have access no matter their income level. It started out as this local effort in her home state, but it became a global initiative that basically gifts eligible children up to 60 free books from the ages of 5 until adulthood to help improve educational inequality and encourage a lifelong love of reading. I mean, that's just one of so many things. She also, infused her life into her work sometimes. Like she had this anthem, really a working class anthem called is it called 9 to 5? And it was literally like about how hard it is to make a living, working 9 to 5. What a way to make a living, barely getting by. It's all taken and no given. Like that's a line from it. She also had Coat of Many Colors. Oh, sorry, go ahead.
No, I was just gonna say that 9 to 5 she actually wrote it for the film 9 to 5 that is about a
Mhm.
struggle that took place here in Massachusetts of clerical workers.
Oh,
So,
where you're speaking
yeah,
to
which
us
she
from.
stars in. Yeah, so it's like, it's truly, like, talking about how workers are, are structurally incapable of actually earning a living, like the
Yeah.
realities of capitalism, but continue.
Yeah, yeah, in a very, like, relatable way that is accessible
Yeah.
to anyone. She also wrote a song, "Coat of Many Colors," that I know is near and dear to so many people, and it's about her, like, basically the coat her mother made for her when she was a child that was made from rags sewn together, and kids at school making fun of her for it, but that like, despite being poor and having this coat made of rags, she was actually the richest one of all. She also wrote this song about this. Well, she didn't write it. She did a cover for a Woody Guthrie song, Deportee, which was about a plane crash in California in 1948 in California's Central Valley that killed 32 people on board, including 28 Mexican nationals, with a one-way ticket back home. It was a leftist like ballad, basically. And he was furious at media accounts that named the 4 white victims, but none of the Mexican victims. So reducing them to the status of just mere deportee. So she did a cover for that song. So, that's a very political move to do a cover of that specific song. One thing I did not know that I learned about after her death is that so I knew that I Will Always Love You was originally her song, and they had Whitney Houston do a cover for it for The Bodyguard. But Dolly Parton, obviously, because it was her song originally that she wrote, got royalties off of that Whitney Houston cover that exploded. I mean, that's, if anybody's heard things of I Will Always Love You, they think of Whitney Houston. So Dolly Parton used her roughly $10 million in royalties from Whitney Houston's cover to buy an office complex in a historically Black neighborhood in Nashville to basically invest in this Black neighborhood that nobody else would invest in. She stood up for LGBTQ people. I actually saw a video clip of her making the rounds on Instagram where she's saying if she hadn't been born a woman, she would have been a drag queen, which I thought was really cool.
It's amazing. And she was like, I mean, that's why I love this clip that we played at the beginning. And there's so many clips like that where she talks about like, I'm not here to judge anyone. Everyone should live like what it means to be their authentic self. And I think she was not only a defender of, the LGBTQ community and everyone's right to, live their truest self. But she also was like an icon of because of this in the gay community. Have seen many drag performances this week. People doing Dolly songs. I of course watched Dumplin' last night, which features an incredible scene of a drag night of like Dolly covers. It's incredible. But I think that like it can seem like, oh yeah, well of course, like you stood up for gay rights. But in the moment that she did, it was like extremely, I think people forget what being gay was like in the 1980s, but it was not popular. It was stigmatized. It was still considered a disease. Of course, AIDS epidemic. So the fact that someone that was this famous, and especially in a region that is generally seen to be more socially conservative, is just uh, super important.
Yeah, definitely. And, I mean, I think Dolly Parton's somebody that has just always been around throughout a lot of our lives because she lived to be 80 and she was famous for most of her life because of her incredible talent. We've all grown up around Dolly Parton, like in shows, in movies. I mean, I even remember Dolly Parton, like, because I used to babysit my nieces and nephews a lot, and they'd always have Disney Channel on, so they'd have Hannah Montana on a lot. So I've seen more Hannah Montana than I'd like to admit, although it's actually quite a good show. But Dolly Parton is
I
Miley
was
Cyrus's godmother. Dolly Parton is
Yeah,
Miley Cyrus's
I thought
godmother.
you watched Hannah Montana because you wanted to. I didn't realize it was because of your nieces, but
I mean,
keep
hey,
telling
I
people
didn't
that.
mind it. I didn't mind it. Like, it was on and I was like, this is great. I loved Hannah Montana, Wizards of Waverly Place. Great shows. Sad what happens to all the
Good
child
stuff.
stars, which we'll get to, but great shows. So she made a lot of guest appearances on Hannah Montana. So even my like my nieces and nephews generations like have grown up seeing some version of Dolly Parton. That's why I mean she's just kind of all encompassing, and such a huge icon in so many ways. And always, even on her appearances, I don't remember exactly what she would say, but just always wise words, full of wise words, beautiful, but also feminist and reminding you she's really smart. Like even in one of the clips we showed, like, don't let these fake eyelashes fool you. Like, so yeah, I mean, Dolly Parton, like rest in peace. Such a
Icon,
beautiful,
icon.
such a beautiful, talented soul. We also lost another person recently that actually kind of hit me a little bit hard because I grew up watching her as a millennial. I think she was a millennial icon at least. Hayden Panettiere died last week. And it's for her, I mean, her, like, Dolly Parton, it's so sad she's dead, but she lived a long and beautiful life. But Hayden Panettiere was 36. And she died of what seems to have been a drug overdose, though it's still under investigation. But look, I don't know about you, Zoe, but I mean, I remember watching her. So my parents used to watch Guiding Light, which was a soap opera. This girl was acting in soap operas when she was a kid. She was Lizzie. I still remember her. She was Lizzie Spaulding in Guiding Light. I still remember the character because she was a really good actress. She could like cry on command. In the soap operas, everyone was always crying. So if you're a kid who can cry on command,
you got to do that.
Yeah, she was also in Remember the Titans with Denzel Washington. She was also in Bring It On, like the sequel, which I think was so good, alongside Beyonce's sister, I think. And then she also starred in Heroes, which was like really amazing until it wasn't. I don't know if you ever watched it. I watched it. It was so good. I'm really into comic book like hero shows. And I think that was kind of the first of its kind, really. Then she started in Nashville, which I did watch. And I mean, it's just amazing. She's a wonderful actress. She's been in the Scream series and actually stood by or defended Melissa Barrera, who was in Scream as well with her, and then got fired because of her stance on Palestine. But the reason I bring up Hayden Panettiere, I mean, it's just her. It's really sad because, like, she's an example of these child stars who have a lot of talent, who grow up in this industry, who don't have the protection they should around them, who are totally used and then thrown out. And in Hayden Panettiere's case, she had a child while she was acting on the show Nashville. And she had postpartum depression after she gave birth to this baby girl. And she really struggled with it while she was on Nashville. She like fell into alcoholism and as like to cope with the postpartum depression. And the writers on Nashville literally took her life events and wrote them into the show. Like they wrote, obviously she got pregnant, so they wrote a baby into the show, which happens a lot on TV series. Like women have babies, they just like make the character pregnant and write it into the show. But in this case, as she was struggling with this in real life, they made her character have postpartum depression and they gave her character an alcohol problem. So she's having to act out these very horrible, like dark events taking place in her reality on this show. It's just insane. Like I can't even imagine what a mind like fuck that would be. Excuse my language, but not really. And then she goes on, I think it was whoever replaced Regis, Kelly, and whoever the guy who replaced Regis was. But she goes on that show, the talk show, to talk about Nashville. And they start asking her about her new baby. And she brings up that she struggled with postpartum depression. People don't talk about it. They don't tell you about it. Like, it's been really hard. I just want women to know they're not alone. And then Neutrogena, which she had spent a decade like being one of the Neutrogena girls for. I mean, lots of people who grew up in like the early 2000s, like I did, will remember Hayden Panettiere washing her face with Neutrogena products on commercials. They fired her because she brought up struggling with postpartum depression. And they invoked her morality clause to do it, which is so insane. Neutrogena is getting a lot of backlash for that now because Hayden Panettiere, after that, like she struggled even more. She went to rehab a bunch of times. It was like a very public like struggle that she had, and it was sad to watch. And she then like got into a relationship with somebody who was physically abusive towards her, who was actually with her, a man who was with her when she died of this drug overdose. And so there's a lot of questions around that. He literally had been charged with felonies for beating her up several times. And she came out with a memoir literally like 3 or 4 months ago. It's called It's called This Is Me, A Reckoning. And so she was on a media tour giving interviews about this memoir. It's like a tell-all about everything she went to as like a child actress, the trauma that came from being used, like especially for her ability to cry on command and how much that screwed her up as an adult. Because like you have to think of really painful things to cry. And as you get older and you do that, like the things you have to think about get more and more painful, and that messes with your head. Talks about how she was given happy pills as like a kid to give her more energy when she went on the red carpet by the adults around her, how they would offer her alcohol when she was a kid, how her mom was basically her manager until she was like 17 or something, or 18. And she basically told her mom, I don't want you to be my manager anymore. I want you to be my mom. And her mom told her, you owe me. And then they had a really bad relationship after that. Her mom put her into acting at the age of 11 months. So she just like never really had a choice in it. Like, that's just crazy, actually, when you think about that. So like, it seems like she had this mom who's really vicariously living through her. And it just, and then, you know, also then she gets into this relationship. She talks about it in her memoir, I guess, because she talked about it in some of her public interviews with this guy who was like on again, off again, but was literally physically abusive towards her. This is not the father of her child. This is a relationship after that relationship ended. And she said it was over, but clearly she was still seeing him because she was with him when she died. So it's just really tragic. This person who was like obviously very full of light, very well liked, very good at her job, very successful, ends up like being mistreated. And then she also, by the way, tells this story in her memoir that she then talked about publicly about like some big shot in Hollywood, like basically like she was kind of pimped out to him. It was an incident that's so disgusting, and she was put in that situation by somebody she wouldn't name, but who was kind of like a lady pimp, on a yacht, where she was like expected to give like, you know, to like sexually service this guy. And then she like refused and ran out. And I'm just like, is that just like normal in what they do in Hollywood? I guess it is. I guess it is. But there's just all these dirty stories that are so sad. And when you think about that happening as like an adult, imagine how messed up as an adult that would be. Then imagine being a teenager and that happens to you. I mean, she did
No.
have the guy she had a baby with, I will point out, is Ukrainian. And she like Hayden Panettiere actually was kind of like politically great. Like, she was really into animal and environmental activism, but her ex is this Ukrainian guy whose brother is the mayor of Kiev and has praised the Azov battalion. So that's kind of a weird thread that like is the one thing where I'd say, but okay. I mean, whatever. I don't expect, I guess, people to, I mean, I guess if you have, whatever, I'm not going to blame her, I guess, for her ex's like politics familially. But aside from that, anyways, it's just a sad story. And I feel like a lot of people who are my age are sad that she died, especially because it's kind of one of those people who like you grow up watching. So it's like, oh yeah, I know that girl, even though you don't obviously know her, but you're like, oh, I know that girl. Like, we used to be in class together. That's what it feels like with hearing Hayden Panettiere died far too young. And so, yeah, I just kind of wanted to mention all that because I feel like powerful men ruined her life. And I'll tell you something, Dolly Parton is somebody that I think helps empower women so that powerful men don't ruin their lives. Full circle.
Yeah, and I mean, just to, you know, before we close out here, Rania, I think also it's both of these women and, you know, their passings bring up this question of like how women artists are specifically are treated, and how art production happens under capitalism, and, you know, the treatment of child stars like Hayden Panettiere and countless other child stars is criminal, and it's largely due to this just like capitalist bottom line. Like, actually, these companies do not care about their well-being. They do not care about what happens to them. They take no, you know, steps to really protect them, to guide them through this, and it's really tragic. And I think it's obviously Dolly Parton is someone who, as she said, and in these interviews, you can tell that she knew what she was up against, and she had a thick coat of armor. But, you know, I can't even imagine being subjected to the taunting, the teasing, everything that people said about her. She obviously was someone who was extremely strong, and it, you know, it seems like she had a very strong support network. But just, I mean, I think the reason why for both of us it was important to talk about this is because it is revealing, like, if these women who have some semblance of power and, you know, whatever way are treated in this way, it's just really important to bring up because this continues to be not only in the entertainment world how women are treated and just disregarded, but of course something that persists today in just general
And
society and just like
across industries.
across
Like if these are
industries, of course.
it's happening to these women publicly, by the way. Like,
Yeah.
not just Hayden Panettiere, look at Amanda Bynes. Look at Demi
Oh
Lovato,
yeah.
literally like, was near death from a drug overdose. She almost died. I think of Brittany Murphy. Like
Yeah.
I think of like there's so many of these people who like these people who are so successful and so beautiful and also white. They're white too. Like they have a lot going for them. And capitalism like still spits them up and chews them out. And it's so Britney Spears, like the
Yeah.
icon of icons, Britney Spears. Look at her today. She's like a shell of herself, like clearly suffering, so publicly suffering, by the way, after being treated like a slave, like by her family and by the industry she was in. It's disgusting. And the amount of people just parasiting off of and profiting off of these people, but treating them like absolute garbage. And it's the perfect encapsulation of capitalism. And then, yeah, you think about those people who have supposedly have power, they have money, they have beauty, they have a following, and they still end up dying in this space. And then you think about what capitalism does to those you don't see, who aren't rich and
Yeah.
beautiful and white, It's
No, for
yeah,
sure.
what a
No,
disaster.
and I
What a
mean, I think
disaster.
yeah. And it's important to like use these moments because I think it is when people are kind of understanding that like why is it that this happens? Why is it that this industry, it's not just like the industry that's bad. It's like capitalism is bad and it depends on patriarchy and, denial of agency and just all of these different ways to suppress and silence people and especially women. So, uh, you know, rest
Rest
in
in peace.
peace,
Rest in
our
peace, Dolly
talented
Parton.
queens.
Rest in peace, Hayden Panettiere. And hopefully, one day there'll be a better world where we don't have this kind of exploitation, where we see people's lives cut so short.
Yeah.
Unnecessarily, like just unnecessarily cut so short. Like dying at 36
Hmm.
is just, yeah.